RgL Sedan Sessions, the first episode. Thank you, D.Brooks, hanging out in the sedan today,
Way to go.
doing kind of what we do anyway. Like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? You want to go grab some breakfast, some coffee, something, and then we end up chatting. We end up talking about any and all kind of things. And I thought for a while it'd be really, really cool. I think in the circles that we operate in, we hear all kinds of fascinating stories. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to document that. So that's the idea of this series. So thank you very much, D.Brooks, for hanging out with me today and helping me launch this plane.
No, it's a pleasure. It's not a unique thing in today's world of influencers, but it's a nice new perspective. I like the fact that it's something local to be involved in, and something that hopefully will bring purpose to other people. That everybody needs to know their why.
Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully this will help maybe steer them in there in that direction, learning about the different facets that maybe they've not heard about before in and around the Austin community.
And that's kind of one of the main reasons that I wanted to do something like this is I'm searching for my why. I'm sure you're still searching for different levels of your why.
Sure.
And we'll get into that. But then also I want to learn about everyone else's why. Why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing? I used to ask that of clients. So I used to sit in client-facing roles in a bank in downtown Austin, and several for a while. There's different layers to it all. And that's one of my favorite things that I used to like to ask was, why are we here? Meaning specifically this crosshairs. In this space and in this time, how'd we get here? Because that's always a fascinating thing, especially in any sort of service or really people. If someone's upset or someone's happy, like it may be because of you or it may not be.
Right.
How did we get here?
Yeah. There's so many ways of getting there. It could be environment. It could be culture. It could be just certain circumstances that pop up that, are you prepared for them? Are you not prepared for them? How do you prepare for those circumstances? And sometimes that's not always easy. So I think you have to take things as best you can with as open a mind as you can going into a situation. In other words, getting out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Getting out of your comfort zone. Some
Absolutely.
people will never get out of their comfort zone, and people will embrace it. And then you got everybody else that's in the middle.
I think it's kind of like traveling, and I know you do a lot of that. The more places you visit, the bigger you go, the smaller your world gets. In a cool
way, because now you learn that on the East Coast people say WATER, water, and then down here it's water. So right, you learn that not everything is the same everywhere. Some people will live in a neighborhood or an area, be born and raised and die, and never know what's down the street.
Right.
And so it's always good to learn how other people do things. And I think the old adage of everything is the same but different.
Right. Absolutely.
Because
perspective.
How I cook barbecue in Texas versus how somebody cooks barbecue in Kansas. So it's good to know the difference.
Don't open up that rabbit hole. But
I'm just all I'm saying
we're
is
in Texas.
But I'm just saying there's differences even within the state of Texas.
Right.
Because we have talk about environment. We've got desert, we got mountains, we got oceans. Some people have never been down to the coast. To the coast.
Right.
Not been down to the coast, and until they do, they go, oh, I didn't know this was here.
Let's back up just a little bit. I got D.Brooks hanging out with me in the sedan, RgL Sedan Sessions, brand new conversation series. Not a brand new concept at all. One of my big motivators, several of my big motivators have been the media influencers literally out in the world. Maria Hinojosa being one of those from NPR fame and Latino USA. I was lucky enough in one of my bank roles to be able to, during the pandemic, Zoom dialogue in a group setting where she was directly on the other end of the screen, and we had real time conversation. That was the
Cool.
best motivator moment. She they call her the Latina CNN, the Latina
Oh, that's
CNN, and
nice.
so. Kind of on that same theory, I want to share stories of not only culture, but yours, mine, everyone else's.
Sure.
We have D.Brooks, RgL SEDAN Sessions. Who is D.Brooks? Where you said? I know you mentioned the East Side, East
East
Coast.
Coast.
You are from the East Coast, yes?
I'm from South Philly.
Okay.
I was born and raised. I left, I guess I want to say when I left, um, 18, 19 years old, and I went into the service.
Okay.
So,
Now, about the service, was that something that you were not aspiring or that you wanted to do, or was it like one of
oh
those
no,
tough
I was doing,
decisions that?
no, it wasn't my decision. It was the government's decision
Oh, okay.
because that was during the time of Vietnam and the draft.
Got it.
So, you had to register, and then if your number, quote unquote, was called up, you got drafted.
And
So
so they called your number.
so they basically called my number, or I guess that's how they did it then.
Sure.
All I know is I got a notice in the mail saying, "Hey, you know, come on in,
What was
come
that
on
like?
down."
What was that
I
like?
don't know what it was like. I mean, to think back that far, it was just sort of like it was the government
Sure.
telling you that we need your services. And so I got drafted. Then I enlisted because I thought I'd have a better opportunity or better because depending on whether you were drafted was enlisted determined where you went and what you did.
Okay.
So I enlisted because I thought that was my better choice. But in the end, I ended up going to Vietnam anyway.
Sure.
That was 71, 72. And I got out. Um, and then I was still in the service because of my 3 years or whatever. Then they sent me here to Fort Hood, which is now Fort Cavazos up in Killeen.
Because you retired from service, correct? You put
No,
in. Oh no, I
no,
thought.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no, no,
okay.
no. So I got out. I was stationed up in Killeen, married, moved to Austin because quite frankly, that's all I knew was Austin.
Really?
I knew there was a
Because of
Dallas.
where you were stationed?
Well, I knew there was a Dallas, Texas, but I didn't know there was an Austin, Texas, or any other. San Antonio. That wasn't new. That wasn't. I wasn't aware of.
Sure, sure.
Because I was an East Coast guy.
Yeah.
So New York, all of that corridor, Florida, yeah, I was familiar with. And so I married. She was from Austin.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we moved to Austin. I eventually got out of the service and went to work actually for the VA data center here, and eventually stayed. I have a child, bought a house, and blah blah blah, and went to work. I've worked for every government agency except for Travis County.
Oh wow.
I worked in private sector. I worked um, uh, uh, as a public and a city. I've worked for the city for a while until I eventually ended up at the state level working, and that's where I retired
Oh, that's where you retired
from.
from the state.
Yeah, from
Okay,
the
got it.
state. From the
And you were
state.
working tech jobs. You were
Oh,
working programming or working.
That's what I was. I
Okay.
was a programmer. I was a computer programmer.
In the 70s,
That would
70s,
have been
80s.
the, let's see, late 70s, because I was going to school,
Sure.
and I was going to school.
Here in Austin.
No, well, I did start at ACC, Austin
Okay.
Community College, and because I needed to take my core courses, and then after that, I went to Texas State, where I got into. They didn't even have a computer course or a computer major. It was a business major, but an emphasis on computer information systems.
Wow.
So I learned about all the different information systems, tech systems at the time, which led to becoming a programmer.
Wow.
And so when I went to look for a job once I graduated, it was for a programmer position.
Got
And
it.
so basically, I did computer programming for 20 plus years.
I want to
And
I want to dog ear that real quick again. Just Dewey Brooks hanging out, RgL SEDAN sessions. This concept that I've decided to bring to life. Thank you very very much
sure,
for participating
sure,
with that, covering kind of how we got here to the crosshairs of how you and I
yeah,
met, and talking about the programming
yeah.
here in Austin in at that time. There probably wasn't a lot of people that looked like you doing what you do,
Oh no, there wasn't there.
because I also want
Whether
to get into you
whether
that you
yeah,
come into
yeah,
town.
the federal and state, there weren't. I can say at some point, in most cases, I was it. I was the only one. Now I did transition from straight computer programming to outreach, which at the time there was the Black Male Initiative, and that was the concept of getting more black males into college because there weren't even many of us pursuing higher education, not let alone the workplace.
Black Male
So
Initiative. Well, who was behind that? Who was it?
that
An
was a state.
organization
No,
or
that was the state. I was working for the
here in Texas?
Higher Education Coordinating Board
Okay.
here in Texas, state agency,
Mm-hmm.
and I became a outreach program director, and part of that was to work on things, pilot programs. Number one, how do we get kids into school and keep them? And then number two, not so much number two, but we worked with it's a group called Tache, and as well as another group, uh, Taffy, to work with increasing the number of black males into higher ed.
Okay.
So we had different programs, not only to keep just students in general, but then this was offshoot to say, well, we know we're lacking. So what do we do? And
Sure.
I traveled the state looking at different programs at different colleges on
And
how
this
to.
was all outside of work.
No, that was work.
That was work.
That
Oh,
was
okay.
work.
Got
Yeah,
it.
I went from
Got it.
being a programmer to an outreach director at the same
Ah,
agency.
okay.
At the same
How
agency,
did that transition happen? Was it because of the fact that you were
I have no
the
idea.
only?
I don't know, but it was a thing called closing the gaps.
Okay.
Closing the gaps was to get more people in general into higher ed and retaining them. Then alongside of that was the Black Male Initiative.
Got it. Got it. And you traveled all of
Oh,
Texas?
yeah, Texas. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
Texas thing because that's what we're trying to do: increase the college rate within Texas. And the agency that I work for, they had oversight
Sure.
over all colleges, and so they would uh, uh, fund programs, pilot projects, and then I would follow up to see how those projects were working. Then we'd come back with the results and go, oh, hey, we did X, and here's why. So in the big scheme of things, closing the gap, Black Male Initiatives, it was successful.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
increase, we did retain those students um, to get on higher ed, because even today, when you look at the number of black males who become educators, the
Sure.
percentage is very low.
Sure. That even enter into higher ed, or that?
Well, from depending on your viewpoint, because I work with the group, and it's all people of color educators that are in HBCUs, uh, uh, um, schools throughout the state. So yeah, we're trying to bring in more people. So
Sure. Sure.
there's a lot there in perspective, but we're still trying to work on how do we improve, how do we help advance folks in the higher education system.
And you're still involved with one of the organizations you mentioned, TABFI.
Taffy,
I would say it wrong. What are
Taffy,
the acronyms?
uh, 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 Texas Association of Black Personnel in Higher Ed.
And what is that? What do you guys do?
We try to.
That's the
That's about helping. How do we help to advance folks, faculty, staff, students in pursuing higher ed?
That's just one of the many boards and
Yeah,
organizations that you're.
it's funny. I got involved way
Is it because
early
you
back
retired and you
on.
just couldn't sit around?
No, I was doing this while I was
Sure,
working,
sure.
so I couldn't understand how I could do it while I was working. But it was weird because I think I was always a person who wanted to be a part of helping and doing. I remember I bought my first car while I was at Fort Hood. I bought a brand new 1973 yellow VW.
Okay.
It was a sports bug. First VW that have a curved windshield.
And that was
And
the car you wanted.
no,
That was the.
it was the car that was most efficient because I was driving it back to Texas.
Okay, okay.
I bought it on the East Coast, and back then you wouldn't believe what people were getting paid.
Sure.
You would.
Wait, meaning a good or a bad? High,
Oh,
low?
oh, how low? I don't know if I was making $1,000 a month.
Sure, sure.
So and in the service, but back then
You don't know what you don't know.
you don't know what you don't know. But at the same time, no, it was to scale, economy wise. But then you have to remember. I remember when growing up, gas was $1 a gallon.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
so if I got
Even to age myself, I remember 79 cents.
that's what I'm
78.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So back then,
It was doable.
It was doable.
Sure.
Gas was cheap. You could buy a gas guzzling car and go
And
wherever you want.
Yeah.
So I bought this car thinking I'm going to be the only one who has this yellow because brand new, just came out.
Sure.
I got back here with 5 of them.
Of course.
So
because they marketed those.
I had no idea. I just saw it. I knew a Volkswagen was cheap.
Sure.
Cheap on gas. It was air cooled. I didn't have to worry about changing I'm not oil.
Oh, that's the thing, because even now I think still, and so I'm from Texas. You got to have AC.
I didn't have any AC.
They don't put them in cars.
No, that was
parts.
No. It didn't come with it. Most cars today, anywhere you go, these kids don't know, but there were cars that were made that did not have AC
at all,
because that was a luxury.
Sure. That was an add-on.
That was an add-on. My car didn't even have my car. The Volkswagen at that time was air cooled. It didn't have a heater. It ran off the heat. You got heat from the engine.
Oh,
so depending on how you adjusted the levers, that heat from the engine came up, and once it, it was very efficient. But as far as AC, we had a window vent.
Yes, absolutely.
That was AC.
Yes.
So today's kids.
Where you want to point it?
Yeah.
How fast you want to go?
If you put a kid in the car with a crank for the windows, they wouldn't know how to use it.
Right.
So
we had vice grips. Once that comes off, vice grips.
See, so anyway, so I went from that. Then I bought a newer car. I bought a Pontiac Grand Prix. I got into the Grand Prix club.
Okay.
And then slowly I started getting ingrained within the actual Austin community. Somebody knew somebody who knew somebody says, hey, this guy would be good for this. So I've been on the board of the Austin.
But it was through the car club that you met people.
Oh, I met those.
Yeah,
I met people. But from work, my social circles are just here, and here.
Well, and that's the type of person you are anyway. I don't ever see you as being one to just go to something and sit, be in the corner, and just go, oh, I got my info and let me leave. No, you want to know.
No, so I got to know that group, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I've always been part of somebody's group.
Sure.
So somebody knowing me, doing this, doing that. I was part of Aquafest. Okay. For a long time. Austin Children's Museum.
Which do they still do? Or did they bring back Aquafest? Didn't it go away for a while?
Oh, it's gone.
That's right.
It's gone. No, it's gone.
San Marcos, correct? Yeah.
No, Aquafest. Oh, you are young.
No, I see. So
you're young.
When did it go away? I got to
98.
town. Okay, yeah, no. I got to town in 2004.
Oh, so you
2003,
you need to Google Aquafest.
As we do more of these episodes, my research, my R&D will get a lot better.
I'm just going to tell you, I forgot. Yeah, you a youngster.
No, yeah, exactly.
So Aquafest was a big city thing. Think of ACL, but think of it on Town Lake.
Oh, wow.
Okay. American Diabetes Association. So I was getting
it free?
What?
Or did you have? Was it a ticketed
for the thing? Aquafest?
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
Because I remember when they used to do those.
It was cheap. It was maybe $5, and if you bought a skipper pin, you got a discount. So people have collections.
Old Austin, is that when Keep Austin Weird? was the thing, and I hate that. I'm sorry. I did the
No,
air quotes.
I think Keep Austin Weird goes back to when you're talking about the Armadillo
Oh,
headquarters
sure.
and
Which
the
that is a
Thread
great
Barrels.
tie-in I want to get into.
Yeah, so I got into these different groups, and I've always been a volunteer.
Sure.
I've not gotten paid for any of this, so it's always been a volunteered for this or that, and I'm still volunteering more, putting more time, not more, but putting more time because yeah, I'm retired. But even when I was working, I still found time to be involved. One year, the first year, KVUE, I think, does a thing called Five Who Care.
Okay.
And they highlight people who do things in the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got actually nominated.
Really?
I didn't know about it until after they had the
through what org or through what?
I don't. It may have been the Children's Museum because, like I said, I've been involved in different.
Sure.
I was with the American Diabetes Children's Museum. I'm currently on the Austin Creative Alliance board, which is a service art organization for the Austin community. I volunteer with Rodeo Austin.
No.
A little known fact: I'm also a pyrotech, so I do fireworks shows.
Nice.
And not just, I'm not talking neighborhoods. I'm talking.
No,
cities.
you're doing 4th of July.
When you go down to Town Lake or Lady Bird Lake to see a fireworks shows, that's the type of shows that I do.
Nice. Trailer set up, everything. Yeah.
Oh, everything. Well, at one point we used to actually build on site, but it's gotten more. I'll say sophisticated. Where now it's on a trailer, but before that we actually had to build it from scratch and tear it down.
I can already tell that we're going to probably need a part 2 and 3 and 4 because this is what we do. This is what we do anyway. And one of the things that I've enjoyed about our connection, and I do want to dive briefly into how we connected and how we stay connected through our regulars coffee group. But no, this is an example of why I want to document this type of event conversation series, this friendship that we've developed that over the years. And I see you, and I don't think I've ever told you directly, but the way I express and explain my connection with you is you're, I think, literally 30 years my senior year, not to age, not to know. I think it is exactly. And actually, we're both. You're a Sagittarius, right?
Yes.
I'm a Sagittarius as well. We both obviously dig hats and fashion and getting out. Yeah, we have to do an episode just on that.
I used to work for a clothing store.
I wanted to, and someone pulled up my lifetime total at Men's Warehouse because everybody knows when I wear. I've been suiting. I mean, well, hey,
million plus.
I think if I could have saved a few of those dollars, and because anyway, we'll make an episode on that. RgL Sedan sessions. We're hanging out in the 2015 Chevy Impala. It's not an SS. They don't do that anymore, unfortunately. But bringing to light conversations and connections of some of the most interesting people that I'm lucky enough to call friends and be able to just come and hang out, grab a bite and grab coffee, where are we? We're at Hoover's. Hoover's Cooking.
Yeah.
Hoover's long time establishment here in Austin. Hoover Alexander, correct?
Yes.
Is the owner. He's a friend of yours also.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten to know him through some of my bank connections during the pandemic when things were obviously doing what they were doing. The bank I was working out in downtown Austin tried to every week, at least for 2 days, buy locally.
Absolutely.
Because to support, because folks were having a hard time. Obviously, we all remember what was going on.
Absolutely.
I championed for Hoover's because, man, I don't know. I think it was you that introduced me to it.
Okay.
Many years ago, and man, when we discovered it, we got it at least 2-3 times over that thing. For the entire office.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But let's rewind just a bit, and then we can wrap up here in just a bit. We got connected. I remember. And see, I was trying to think as I was getting prepared for this. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the origin. I remember Mitchie's gallery. I remember Mitchie's art gallery.
I did what people would call a rent party because she was having problems with the business, and I did a rent party, and I believe you came in to do some. I needed videotaping.
Well, somebody, and I'm trying to go back a couple steps even further. Somebody had said, "Hey, you need to meet Someone did that, I think, on both sides.
Oh, okay.
Someone did that, said, hey, you need to meet Dewy because he's blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay.
And because at the time, shout out to SKS, this was many years ago in town, we were doing creative agency, creative marketing.
I was pretty much a part-time photographer at the time as well, and I guess a organizer because
we all dabbled. We do the thing that Austinites did. We're hands in every single cookie jar that we can.
Yeah, because I've done theater, and I've had I co-founded a theater company, and I've got a theater background, so that's another segment. Parts for sure. but you know, I dabble a lot in different circles that brings me.
And it's fun to flex those muscles.
Always.
It's fun to flex those muscles, especially when you know that you can and you've established through experience that you can do it well. And I think that's not in any sort of boastful way, but you can do things and organize things. I'm talking to you directly, and I've been a part of teams where we have.
Sure.
But that was the deal. SKS and I, we were really dabbling. I mean, there was service industry work. I was working in banking.
Right.
But it's Austin, and everybody who has been here even for just a minute,
you do everything.
Knows exactly. Yeah. And if there's a talent, you flex it. And so we had a talent for getting together with other like-minded folks and helping to blow up an idea. There would be some gem, whether it was live music, whether it was a meeting space, whether it was networking. Because I too, on my own, I ran a networking agency.
Right.
For a couple of years before that. So that's where I was trying to figure out, how did we, because the only thing I remember is, hey, you need to go meet Dewy because he's doing this thing with Mitchie's art gallery and he needs some, and it was that. He needs some photos, he needs some video.
Yeah.
And I remember briefly what is Mitchie's art gallery, because it's no longer, unfortunately, around, correct?
It was one of the only Black-owned art galleries in Austin. And, you know, if you needed anything as far as art supplies, picture framing, those types of things, or just it was a gallery where you could see other artists' work. So it was an art gallery. It was an art gallery and framing store.
So you could go there for inspiration, but you could also go there.
Well, at one point, I actually used Mitchie's. I had to have a bunch of posters that I had to obtain. I needed to get them framed. I'd take them down there. She would frame them up. I even let her, you know.
And that's who the Mitchie.
Mitchie was no. I'm trying to think of her name. That was her son's name.
Okay.
Her son was. Had a disability and passed away, and that was her way of continuing his legacy in Mitchie's art gallery. So that was named after her son. Yeah. But art it can be a fickle lady, and so she ran, because of her health, she was running into hard times.
Got it.
And
it's hard to run a business.
It's hard to run a business,
and let alone to run a business in art
and the Black art.
At the time, and what time was this? How long was she doing? This was 11, 12, 2011, 12, 13-ish is what I remember.
Okay, so yeah,
and unfortunately, that was one of the last events that you were able to help with, or that they were able to do,
because after that, after that, she I can't remember, 6 months, a year, she passed.
Yeah.
And so but we try to, as a community, come together and do a community event to help keep her store open.
Got it.
So we had an event, we had artists come in, we had music, we had a little bit of everything. What can we do to support
a festival?
Yeah. What can we do to support and keep this business open and running?
Nice. And through that, because I was just starting to go to a coffee group that we both still go to, like religiously,
regularly.
It's regular. So it's the regulars, and stay tuned. We'll hope to have Joel Bush, the curator and one of the originators, and we're probably 2-3 levels, if even not closer, to the origin of that. So regulars coffee, few folks, we're meeting down at Mozart's, Lake Austin Boulevard. started seeing some of the same people there all the time. They
Friday,
decided
Friday
on Friday mornings, every Friday mornings,
between 8 and 10.
And it was one of those, hey, I saw you there, and I'll let those people, when they do come into the sedan, tell that story.
Yeah.
But they decided to shut the laptop and say, hey, and just chat and
Yeah.
just talk.
Yeah.
And easily, thanks to Facebook reminders, this was 12, 13 years ago,
At
I
least.
think. Yeah. Because the Cat Mountain event popped up, and that was
Cat Mountain Grill.
we threw live music events. See, that was the thing. We dabbled in a little bit of everything with everyone.
I saw some pictures, and my memories came up with what's her name?
Patricia Vaughn. Patricia Vaughn.
I was like,
and that was
wow.
That was beautiful, beautiful event. Thank you to everyone. Pat, thank you for setting that up. From the regulars, all again, a connection from people that you just do your daily life with, and we got an idea one day, and my gosh, it took off.
Yeah,
that was Luke though. Papa Luke with some pushing, and that's a whole other the story. So he invited me to this coffee. That he just said, hey, some folks gather, and I think you should be there. And it was the way he did it that blew my mind, and I started, and so SKS and we went religiously, and because of the work that we started to do together, I knew that you operated in a similar space, and in that giving was a part of what you do.
It's like, way. I can't write a check, so here's my way to give.
But also in that learning sense, of
always learning.
Exactly. And so
that's a lifelong learner.
And that's what I told. That's what I told when I called my then business partner, and when Luke invited me to coffee, he said, "There's a group of folks that meets every Friday at Mozart's Coffee at 8 in the morning." And I thought, what? I said, in Austin. I said, people that are up on purpose on a Friday morning.
I know.
In Austin to do something.
Yeah.
Professional, development wise, which I didn't know it was that at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, we got to go. I called SKS. I was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Because it was Thursday. Clear your wake up. We're gonna go. And we have been. So that did its own thing. I've been ever since fallen off through the corporate chains. Been at a desk job where I couldn't get away every Friday.
Right.
But the beautiful thing about that coffee group is it's everyone that you could imagine, whether it's old, young, retired, entrepreneur, solopreneur,
startups.
Absolutely. You got an idea, or you just want to go and have coffee and talk.
Yeah.
To Austinites or people visiting. Yeah. Anybody come out Friday mornings. But then that's where we then just started to regularly say, you know what, I guess I'll see you next Friday.
Exactly.
Here, I guess I'll see you next Friday. And then from there, hey, well, you know what, let's go grab a coffee. Let's go get, and then that's where we discovered our love for watches, our love for hats, our love for all the things. So I thank you for the connection.
Cool.
And the mentorship, because that is what I was alluding to earlier. Is that's what I tell folks is that yeah, I see you as a mentor. I see you as an advisor of sorts, because again, in that lifelong learning sense, you've been here longer than I have. You've been here before.
Yeah.
You're a person of color. I'm a person of color. Those are rabbit holes that we go down all the time, because there are so many nuances and things that still happen in 2024.
Yes.
Even in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
Especially in Austin, Texas.
As progressive as we want to be.
But, you know, and we end up sharing and we laugh about it. Because what else are you going to do?
Well, you don't want to cry about it.
Exactly. And you don't really want to fight about it, because when you present the way that some of us present, it ain't going to go our way. But that's not why we're here. We're here.
That's a rabbit hole.
We're here to share the good things. Thank you, Dewy, for hanging out. I really didn't get to any of the canned questions that I thought I was going to do, but I will do one. I will do one or two possibly. So we'll end with that.
Okay.
And we've gotten into a bit. What is the biggest misconception or the thing that you wish people knew about you, like when they meet, that they end up finding out and going, oh, like for example, and maybe I'm going to give it away, I didn't know until this past Friday's regulars that you are a pilot or have been.
I still consider myself a student pilot.
I never knew that. Folks, we've been friends since about 2011, 12, whatever.
Yeah.
And seen each other regularly. I did not know that.
I used to fly out of Mueller before they switched over, and then I used to fly out of...
Is it Mueller or Miller? No, I'm sorry,
I say
Austin. I'm
Mueller.
sorry.
I say Mueller or Miller.
Depends on who you're
The
talking
old
to.
airport.
Right,
I
right,
flew out
right.
of the old airport, and then when Bergstrom opened, I flew a couple of times out of there. I flew outside of different small airports around Austin. I was taking flying lessons. I still consider myself in a student pilot
Nice.
stage. And then I
Any plans
guess,
to go back up?
yes,
Good.
yes. And then the other thing that many people may or may not know is I have run 10 marathons.
That's right. Avid
And
runner.
my first run was in Hawaii, and I thought if I got hurt, what a better place than to
Then have
rehabilitate.
to, yeah, have to post up for a while.
And
Dang.
yeah, so I've did a lot of
You
uh,
do the turkey trot every year, right?
I did all of the 5 and 10Ks. Anything that came up, I did it. No, it didn't
Absolutely.
matter. Turkey trot, the what was it? The bun run. I have run in Europe. I ran in Rome. I did a marathon in Rome, and throughout the United States, I have not. I did in New York,
Oh, wow.
Chicago, and New Orleans, which are kind of a lot of, in some places was majors then.
And
But
you still do actively, yeah?
I've run the turkey trot. I haven't
Okay.
run a
Okay.
marathon in probably 10 years, but
Okay.
I think I still got one more in me.
Okay. Good.
But so those two things, flying and running, probably a lot of people don't know about, and maybe the fireworks issue
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
But
Okay.
there's probably something I've forgotten
There's probably about a
that I
dozen
did
others.
that I've done, and like, oh
Well,
yeah, I used to do that
in
too.
that same sense, and again, not to age both of us, but you've probably forgotten more than I've done yet.
Probably,
And I love
probably.
that. That also is the point and the theme of these RgL Sedan sessions. Is I've been lucky enough to be the youngest and the brownest person in the room or at the table. But in that sense, that when my grandfather used to tell me, when you're in situations like that, just listen, but not in a submissive way. Like I've gotten into debates with some people, like, no, you got to make yourself known. No. When you're the dumbest person at the table, listen. People got there for a reason, or the experience that be meaning at the regulars.
Always hang out with people smarter than you.
Absolutely, because what is it translates in different ways, but I know in Spanish, and we didn't grow up with it all over the place. But dime con quién andas y te digo como quién eres. And I probably got it wrong. But tell me who you're with, and I'll tell you who you are.
Gotcha.
But then also in other ways, who are the 5 closest people in your circle? And that kind of shows who and how you are. And I think a little bit of that.
Yeah, the people that you know.
And there too is our GL Sedan sessions. I have been blessed to have some amazing people in my circle, and I want to share those stories because they're fascinating. So peel the curtain on that, and then we'll end with today. We'll end with, if not Austin or what you're doing now, what?
I'd be in Philadelphia. Well, no, I'd be on the East Coast. Maybe in Philadelphia. What would I've been doing? I don't know. In the service, I drove tractor trailers and things and such, but I also became a dispatcher. I think maybe.
Do you think technology would have been afforded to you there? The programming, the coding, the.
I don't know, because I don't think I would have known about it. I didn't start getting into um, programming and such until after I gotten out of service as a transition, and things that I was doing in the service sort of related to the tech side.
Got it.
And that
was the dovetail.
that was the transition.
Okay.
But if I had just gotten out of service, even with that, number one, I know I would have gone to college, a university, because GI Bill. But I don't know if it would have led to me being in the IT. But I know it would have led to me being in some sort of business.
Okay. Because that was your drive. It
was a business. My dad was a general contractor.
Okay.
So I know how to paint. I know how to fix simple plumbing. But I would try to look at it as from a business side, what do I need to know to do it, run a
To
business,
run it. Yeah,
to run
absolutely.
a business?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's where it went. The main question is, where would I be? I think I'd be somewhere on the East Coast.
Okay. It's clear we're going to need several more, but again, thank you very, very much for helping me kick off this
Sure.
concept, this idea. Now, again, I alluded to Maria Hinojosa as being one of the main influencers in the big media world, local media. There's a gentleman named Ernie Zuniga out of San Antonio that's got a show similar. And so our
Cool.
interesting connection is we went to the same high school together back in
Okay.
Victoria. So there again, tangent after tangent after tangent.
It's all about relationships.
Absolutely, absolutely, and also figuring out that hey, you've done a whole lot of art and a whole lot of creativity and a whole lot of business stuff similar to because really experiences overlap and dovetail more so than we would think. It's just
Yes.
sort of the players
Yes.
change.
Yeah, that's it.
The game,
The game is the same. The
absolutely. And
game
on
is the
that note,
same.
we're at Hoover's sedan
It's time
session.
to eat.
They've opened up. I'm hungry. Thank you very much, Dewy Brooks.
Okay, hold on. Hold
There
on.
we go. There we go.
You dig?
You dig.